Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Jesse Jackson III. I'm the best-selling author and facilitator of the Don't Kick 'Em Out book and training series. What I want to do for you in this very brief training video is show you what is very key and important for teachers and educators to understand about avoiding physical confrontations with students. Over the last 2 weeks, while I've been on the road, I've had 8 situations where educators have been triggered and frustrated and went way past the line, whether it was physically grabbing a kid, choking a kid, hitting a kid, poking their finger in the head of a kid, telling the kid literally, I'm going to whoop your tail. And we've got, it on tape in a very aggressive, hostile manner, and did use profanity. So once it gets physical, we're in a really bad situation. Physical altercations with students is negative. Once again, these are symptoms of burnout. These are things that we know continue to plague our teachers. And so one of the key things I want us to always understand is while we are heavily trying to keep down suspensions, while we're heavily trying to keep kids in school, always remember you have to put a very systematic approach into play in your entire district so this thing works. And a lot of individuals don't really understand the real toll the suspensions take on the kids. On the adults. So when we see, that ongoing agitated behavior, frustration, irritation kicks in with the adult. If the adult is already having personal problems, it could escalate very quickly. I like to say, when teachers have meltdowns on kids and they are yelling to the top of their lungs and they are directly, aggressively attacking kids, nothing positive comes out of that. So there's some very key things I want to leave with you so you will understand how do we go about avoiding that. Number one is you can't be afraid of the kid. And if you're afraid of the kid, we're going to always have a serious problem. I don't think you should be teaching people you're afraid of at any level. I don't think you should be working at a job where you're afraid of anyone. It just doesn't make any sense. The second part is don't disrespect students. Just because it's a kid, that's not your cue to be rude or be disrespectful. And I've always kept this from working with kids in juvenile and men in prison. I always said if I would not say it to them in the street, I won't say it to them under my care. It's something that we have to understand. It's just not okay to disrespect people and to be rude. It escalates situations. You have to respect kids as a person. And a lot of times we just assess them as a child and they don't get the proper respect. And so we're expecting them to stay in a child's place, but we don't treat them like a person. And when they don't, we get offended, and that's when conflicts can really go wrong. Number 4, don't touch kids. Keep your hands off kids. Okay? So we're once again, we know one of my Don't Kick 'Em Out pillars is non-tolerance for physical acting out and physical violence. It is the one violation that I am very adamant that districts must be vigilant in non-tolerance. It's the one behavior that I know I can't rehabilitate. Once people start putting their hands on people, and one thing I really learned, from really being in juvenile, is there's certain things once a person gets away with it, like murder, like a fight where they assault somebody, and the only consequence is time. I've found the person does not learn. It has to be an execution of judgment. So you have to have a district where there is a no tolerance for fighting, where the kids know, I'm not get kicked out. I'm not going to get to come back here. And that's something that I'm not going to negotiate with. Now, people say, well, it's fighting, give them 10 days, have them come back. You keep doing that if you want to. What you're doing is developing a felon. Okay, so you go ahead and make that contribution to society. You go ahead and do it. I won't be a part of it because I know better. You must be vigilant towards fighting. Now, with the younger kids, we can get to the younger kids, but they'd have to know it's a no tolerance for physical acting out. Now, the thing is, we have to teach. We have to teach kids why physical acting out is so bad and such a violation. We're assuming they know. Giving them time in suspension will not correct the behavior. Now, we're talking about physically acting out, acts of terror, physicality, where kids are physically acting out on other kids and adults. Whenever we do that, we are creating some felonious behavior that we will have to deal with in the future. This is what I know. You can tell me what you think. I'm telling you what I know. There must be vigilance and non-tolerance of physical acting out, assaults, threats, acts of terror, period. And you could put it in your policy to where the kids know there is absolutely no tolerance. It's not, oh, fighting doesn't solve things. Man, this is a different generation. Conflict resolution, they are not there. And we cannot continue doing things, folks, that absolutely doesn't work, and it really creates a danger to society. With every conduct we don't want, we have to teach against it because it's an ignorance and an impulse. So we have to teach against it, and we have to put policy in place that makes it non-negotiable. That's what I know. So this is why we have to do that with the students. But then you have to understand, this is what I'm saying to the adults, don't you get in the habit of touching the kid. Now, I told a staff person this 3 weeks ago who just thought, that they were okay to physically put their hands on a kid, right? And now this person's unemployed. Now this person has, a video out there that a student takes of them physically acting out on the kid. Okay? When I say don't touch people, I mean it on both sides. And I always say, when I have to bring my men in to touch you and remove you from a situation, with the people that I have working for us in those kind of capacities, they mean business. That means this situation cannot move forward. I need to physically remove you. Okay? So what I'm saying to teachers, do not practice putting your hands on students. Number 5, don't practice yelling at these kids because yelling escalates problems. Don't challenge kids to a fight. Like a guy had at a place in the country I won't name. So this is in a high school. Got to jerk kids here, bumping off at the mouth. We don't know at the time. True story. We don't know that this teacher's going through a divorce, and we see him. Okay, so we go back and watch the tape. And he's at his desk texting. Well, we find out later, after the guy has to be fired, he's going through a divorce with his wife, and they're up there going back and forth. So the kid's being a fool, talking crazy, says something to the guy. And then the guy said, the little kid said, I'm going to beat your ass. Okay? What does this man, this 6'4", 310-pound man say? Do it. So the little punk kid gets up and walks towards, and you got to realize, for a 300-pound, 6'4" man that's already frustrated, that's all he needed. That's all he needed to snap on the guy. So now he has to explain to his now ex-wife, that was a marriage terminator, on why that the divorce is going to have to be delayed because he just lost his job. Hello. It's very serious here. Number 7, don't be sarcastic. 8, don't get in folks' face. 9, don't physically prevent someone from leaving your space. So what we find is, I had another situation where a kid was put out, was said, get up, get out. Okay? And I think that the teacher kind of thought about it after they did it. So some time had went by. Said, get up, get out of here. So the kid didn't do it immediately, but a little time went by. But then the kid said, I'm out of here now. And so now we got the teacher, now it's blocking the door physically. So now from there, it creates a physical confrontation because he's like, get off my door. And then they touching the hand, and then you hit the hand. And before you know it, we got a problem. Security's called. It looks bad for the teacher. So what am I trying to do? Always protecting the teacher, giving us a higher level of awareness of how to conduct ourselves to stay out of these horrible situations. Number 10, you got to build a genuine human relationship. And building human relationships is all about trust. You know, we hear a lot of buzzword in education about building relationships. You know, break that down so people who really don't understand what that means. It means trust. And so we have a population of our students who absolutely does not trust our faculty in many cases, and you can see it in the way we relate to one another. We see a lot of times our faculty doesn't trust their principal, don't trust each other. That's why they isolate and we don't talk. And it's a very dangerous situation, and it's something that we now have to work on addressing on a day-to-day basis. And then the last one, I always say, man, be friendly. You know, be friendly. I've got a piece of work coming out, it literally called Be Nice. It's for office staff and bus drivers. Be nice. And what we find is that being nice can get us just much further in negative situations than being anal and a jerk. These are some things that we know that really give us a chance to avoid physical confrontations with our students. This is a component of Don't Kick Them Out. We're really working with teachers to understand their stress level. And when people have very high levels of stress, oftentimes confrontation is something that will ultimately be where it goes. And so it's up to us to really continue to support our staff, to give our staff the kind of guidance they need so they can get help, so they can manage their stress better understand the kid. But one thing we always know is when you understand yourself, you can stay out of situations that can get you in a really, really bad space. And that's what we're going for. This is Dr. Jackson. Make sure you're sharing this video, showing it to your staff, sharing it with your peers. This is the type of thing that we need that is absolutely pivotal to our own safety and security and managing very difficult issues in our schools, which deal with a lot of negative conduct. And we want to make sure we are responding appropriately so we don't become a contributor to the negative conduct. Dr. Jackson, I'll see you next time.